Hi, I'm Linda Mechner, here with Why Eating Healthy is Not Enough. I'm here today with Anasuya Basil, a midlife renewal health coach. Anasuya, do you want to share a little bit about your background and how you came to do this incredible work that you do?
Well, thank you so much, Linda. I just want to say your summit is really important, and I'm so glad that you're doing it. I have been a holistic health practitioner for more than 20 years. I'm board certified in nutrition, holistic nutrition, and also in Asian bodywork therapy. And I'm Upledger certified in craniosacral therapy, a type of osteopathic bodywork. And I've also taught at leading health holistic health schools, Bowman College Nutrition School, and the Acupressure Institute in Berkeley. And so I have, been helping women feel better for many, many years. And I've specifically focused on midlife women because when I started going through the changes in my early 40s, I thought that I had it all together. I thought that I was handling it because at the time I was teaching acupressure for menopause and researching a lot about this and feeling like I've got this together. I can do this. But then nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. My life fell apart when my husband of 17 years left me for another woman, and she was a younger woman. And so I was heartbroken, and I just did not know how to pick up the pieces at first. I We had bought this property in the country, 5 acres of beautiful Northern California foothills land and a home. And we were just 4 years into developing that property and creating like our dream life. And he just walked away from it all. And so one day I was at that property in despair. And, as that stress and anxiety increased, my hot flashes were just like going off constantly, like flash, flash, flash. Whereas before, it had just been the occasional flash, and I thought, no biggie. But now it was going off constantly, and I wasn't sleeping. So I was exhausted, and I was filled with anxiety and sorrow, grief and sorrow. And I thought at that property, how could I take care of this land myself? I don't think I'm capable. I loved that property, but could I take care of it myself? And was it because of my midlife body that this happened? And would I be able to take care of myself during the recession financially? I had so many doubts and worries that I felt like I was kind of like standing in looking into a pit of despair. You know that feeling where you kind of imagine this black pit, and if you take one more step towards that black pit, you'll fall in. And I knew I didn't want to do that because as a teen, I had fallen in and it took me years to get out. I knew it was awful in there. So I kind of pulled myself together and I stepped back from that black pit of despair. And I reached into myself and I thought, well, I've got to shift. I've got to do something. And I kind of reaffirmed taking care of myself with nutrition and also finding activities that would bring me even just one spark of joy in this gloomy, awful days. So I recommitted to that. And then I reached out to other wise women to help me, to coach me and mentor me through that awful time. And gradually, as the months progressed, I realized that, the symptoms started to dissipate. I felt more myself again. And I started to realize, oh, midlife actually has some unique gifts that I didn't have when I was younger. For example, it's like, freedom from peer pressure, decades of experience and knowledge building that gave me deeper understanding and wisdom and the ability to ask for help. And through studying nature, because that was one of the things that I knew would give me joy. I had started to study more nature, and I started to see how the patterns, how nature reflects us back. It's like a mirror for us, which is not surprising because really we are nature. As mammals, we are part of nature. And so we in nature, we speak the same language. And this has brought me a lot of joy, a lot of feeling like I love doing the work that I do, avenues of expression that are open to me, new creativity. And so I am really excited about sharing with other midlife women that this time can be a really amazing time in your life.
It's such a fabulous message and such a fabulous mission. I think sometimes, well, I mean, I know that some of the biggest stresses that we experience are actually the stresses that we put on ourselves, you know, the lack of self-acceptance, the idea that we, you know, can't have what we want or should be doing something we don't want to do. And it's funny, but one of the things that I've been noticing about myself lately, and I'm, you know, to put it in context, I'm perimenopausal, but one of the things I do is I lie on my back in my bed and I put my feet up above my head and flex my ankles. And I've been noticing that my knees are looking really wrinkly these days. And, you know, it's sort of a metaphor, I think, just for my changing body. And there's some days that I look at my knees and I'm like, that doesn't look right. You know, and it's not that I don't accept it, but it's different. And, you know, I think that there is this real, you know, process we need to go through to, you know, love all of our bits. And yeah, you know, I'm curious, when you started grabbing on to the little things that brought you joy in each day, what are some of those things that really lit you up? Like the small things that we wouldn't even necessarily think about.
Well, I started paper crafting. I started making handmade cards with rubber stamps and different colored papers. And just the working with the textures and the colors, I would forget everything and just feel in this creative flow. And, you know, it wasn't a fancy artwork. It was a simple thank you card, but I made it myself. And and then also, since I was a kid, I've always found solace in nature. So I really saw nature as a therapy for me. As a, you know, I didn't think of it that way when I was young, but now I really saw it as a therapy, and I started to study it. I'm actually now a certified California naturalist, and I got certifications in wildlife tracking, and there's one other permaculture certification, which is a
So
holistic gardening. So I studied it more, and the more I studied it, the more it started to reveal amazing things to me.
mm, fabulous. And what are some of the things that you do with your clients? Like, how do you bring them on a journey of, you know, this midlife renewal?
Well, I have some key steps. So the first part is about revisioning your midlife
Mm,
and being able to see where you're stuck and where you want to go. And then the second part is about loving your body. And by loving your body, I don't mean like when you lose weight, you're going to love your body. When you're stronger, you're going to love your body. Or when you don't have pain, you're going to love your body. It's like right now.
mhm.
And it's just so powerful, and it really brings the stress levels down. And then the third part is about enjoying yin building activities. And yin building activities, I call them that because in Chinese medicine, yin is the quality of reflectiveness and of being in the present moment. And it's dark and it's inward moving, as
Mm,
opposed to yang, which is outward and doing
mhm.
and very directive. And so our society is very yang oriented. Like we get rewarded for doing. We don't get rewarded for being. So
Right.
I emphasize with my clients to find a yin building activity that they enjoy. And these are activities that are relaxing and screen free. They are where you stay in the present moment with awareness. They lower your stress hormones, they raise your awareness, and they bring you new insights. And the particular yin building activity, there's many of them, from, dancing and arts and crafts and playing music and Tai Chi and those kinds of things, and they're all good. But in particular, there's something especially powerful about spending time in nature, in a space of awareness.
Yeah, that is so true. When I grew up, I was very involved with horses, and I spent almost all of my time outside in the woods, galloping over hill and dale. And I always appreciated it, but at some level I also took it for granted. And now so much of my life keeps me indoors at a computer, and I hunger for that. And I look at my siblings who were, when they were younger, much more indoors, and they didn't know what they were missing.
Yeah, it's true. We don't, we do take it for granted when we're younger. We know we feel better. And a lot of us just say, oh, yeah, of course, being in nature is healthy. But there's actually a lot of scientific studies. There's studies that are done in Japan, in medical colleges in Tokyo, where the immunologists study natural killer cells. And they find that when people spend a few hours every day for 3 days in a row, this was a particular study, it raised the natural killer cells tremendously. And they also have done other studies where it shows that it lowers the stress hormones, it lowers blood pressure, and there was a study that was done with outward bound students where they tested their creativity, and they found that their creativity increased by 50%. And when you think about it, like these scientific studies, of course, that makes sense, because you know what? All of our ancestors spent significant times in nature, and they had to be very connected with nature in order to not just survive, but thrive. Right. So we are all here from ancestors who were connected with nature, and our brains have not changed that much. So when we go out in nature and we slip into the space of awareness and curiosity with nature, just observing what's going on around us, our brains, it's like we connect with a different part of our brain than when we're indoors. And I found that it brings in healing energy for us in all the ways I described. And it also helps us, it reflects back to us metaphors about our life. So for example, I was puzzling the other day about fallow times, when you feel like you're not really getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, I know that there's something good about that, but I was just puzzling what that really means. And I noticed in my garden, I've been focused on other things this summer. And so I let a rose garden go, and it was full of weeds, but it had wild grapes, like bunches of wild grapes that I had never known were there, had never bared fruit before, because I had always gardened in there for the past 15 years.
Wow.
So it told me that fallow times can bring unexpected fruits.
What a great metaphor for life.
Yes.
And so do you have any stories of healing that you would feel comfortable sharing, like how this work has affected somebody?
Sure. When I work with my clients, we definitely talk about these yin building activities. And I had one client, I'll call her Becky, and she worked full time. She was in her mid-40s, and she came home exhausted and spent nights and weekends on her couch. She had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and so her hands and feet were really painful. And it took her a long time to get going in the morning because her feet were especially painful in the morning. And as we worked together, we did some of the things we know how to do as in nutrition, like removing refined foods, bringing in more vegetables. Um, for her, being gluten-free and dairy-free made a huge difference. And as her pain reduced, she started to have energy for activities. So we had this talk about, what would you like to do in nature? And she decided to have this little mini adventure every weekend where she would borrow her neighbor's dog, who she loved. This neighbor's dog, she had such a heart connection with this dog, and they would go for little walks in the foothills above her town. And I think like our connection with other species, like with our pets or even, wild animals that we observe, puts us in a state of awareness and in the present, because in order to have a relationship with an animal, they're in the present moment. So we need to be in the present moment with them. And
Right.
then it creates something very special. So she gradually came out of this isolation and came out of the depression and started to socialize more with her friends as well.
Mhm.
And her pain lessened and lessened until we had worked for about 5 months. She was pain free. She returned to her doctor, and her doctor took away her diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis.
What a wonderful story. I love stories like that. Love. And 5 months is such a short amount of time. It can give hope to anybody.
Yes.
And I know you have a wonderful free gift to share with our listeners. Do you want to tell about that?
Sure. I have an ebook. It's called Midlife Renewal for Women. And it's about 5 powerful practices for reclaiming your joyful, healthy, and creative life. And so that's a free download for you. It's an easy read, lots of pictures in there, and some how-to tips. And there is some exercise in there about nature connection, so that you can start having this experience of a closer relationship with nature and how it affects your body and mind.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us here today. I'm so touched and inspired by your methodology. You know, the woods is one of my favorite places. I mean, to be specific, the woods of New York, which is where I grew up. Um, and I know how absolutely immersive and healing it can be. So I just really honor you for your contribution to this mission of helping women have a wonderful, inspiring, healthy midlife.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's been so delightful to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. And all right, I will see you later. See you later, everyone. We'll see you on the next video. Have a good day.